Hello everyone, welcome to The Rundown. Thanks to AGL. For all your energy needs, go to agl.com.au. The new day. Yes, that's right, it's a Thursday for The Rundown. And that looks like it's put a smile on the face of our regular panellist, Ryan Daniels from 7 News, and Richie Benno from the West Coast Eagles, two-time premiership player and, of course, a Norm Smith medalist. Nice top.
You like this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
It's fantastic.
It's Thursday. I had to bring out something special.
Feels nice
you know?
too. It's a really nice material.
Speaking of feeling nice, the West Coast Eagles, albeit ugly, got the job done against St Kilda. Where are they at?
No, just banking wins. That's what they need to do at the moment. It's such an even competition. We've seen that. And if the West Coast Eagles can get some players into form over the next few weeks, obviously Melbourne tomorrow night, there is a real big chance to actually get themselves right back in this competition.
Can they challenge us for the fort?
Look, I think they can. There's some damning stats. They are last in.
Always go
Wait for this.
the negative stat.
They are last in disposals, inside 50s, hard ball gets, loose ball gets, contested possessions, handball receives. That is a stunning list of lasts. But do you know what the most important number is? 5 and 3. After all of that, they are still, as you say, banking games. They have Melbourne tomorrow night, which means going in heavy favourites. They could come out of that 6 and 3 despite all of those issues, which means there's big room for improvement. That's where they're at.
You sleep on stats. You eat stats.
Numbers don't lie.
Well, they
don't
do lie. That's the point. I'm not so sure I'm not a great stats man. Now, Willie Rioli, we've seen him training. He's coming. His return, does he come straight back in? Does he warrant straight in? Whether we see him or not this week, no one knows, or does he go through the waffle?
He comes straight back into the side for mine. Willie Rioli, I said at the start of the year. Now, I went down to Mandurah and I watched their second JLT game, and I thought his performance in that game, in particular that third quarter, I'd never seen a kid light up a game like he did. Not just kicking the goals, but setting them up. And I said that he was going to be the best small forward in the competition by season's end. Now, obviously, with the injuries that he's had, he hasn't been able to get out there and play. He is so excited. He doesn't need much game time. He doesn't need a whole lot of disposals to have an impact on the game. If he is fit, then I think that Willie Rioli is the kind of player the West Coast are missing at the moment inside their 450.
I tend to agree. I've sort of written down he only needs 3 or 4 moments in a game, and that's what you were saying. I think if he'd had the pre-season we wanted him to, and he'd been able to move nicely into the season, he would have made that leap. But what we might see now is just last year's Willie Rioli, which is more than enough. And they have missed him so much with everything that they do. That forward line just doesn't quite hum without him in it. And the midfield actually needs him as well for a chop out.
Yeah, 7 tackles in the grand final, I think it was. He is a tackling machine, in particular inside that forward 50. So keeping that pressure on the defensive, on the opposition is key. So we're looking forward to seeing when Willie Rioli is back. Dane Rampy climbed poles, and then he was, well, somewhat he crossed the line, I think, with the girl. You sound like a girl comment about the umpire when he said he couldn't hear the call. Your thoughts? Sydney have pushed back hard. Essendon asked for a please explain about the pole. Did you ever climb a pole?
On the footy field?
On the footy field? No, I haven't. It was strange. It was absolutely strange. And I think there was obviously a lot of uproar to talk about it. At the time when I saw it, I don't think many people actually saw it live. I only sort of heard the comments post-game about what had happened, then obviously saw a vision of it. The umpire must have been just like, what do I do? Now, it sounded like they knew the rules, but in the end, I don't think it impacted the game. But he's saying that if it was a rule and they broke a rule, then technically, under those rules, guidelines, there should have been 50-metre pay, and he should have had a shot at after the siren to win the game.
All right, let's talk about rule changes then. If that's a bizarre rule, let's talk about any rule in the AFL that you think we should abolish, or even one bring in. I'm open to any suggestion here, Ron.
I just want a slight tweak. You know when you have a free kick and then they pay advantage and the game just moves on and it's good. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Can I just stop you there? This is the tweak of the week. You always want to tweak stuff.
Just like a little
We've got
tweak.
a pole climber and a tweaker.
Yeah, and a non-statsman. What I would like to see is allowing advantage from marks. You know, the umpire always makes the player come back behind the mark. Everything stops for a couple of seconds after the ball's spilt out. Let the teammate run on and go. Let them just run off with it. Because what happens is when you pull it back, all we see is one of 2 things. We see them turn backwards, kick it 15 metres into the back pocket, and then we start a very slow build-up because it gives the opposition team, time to get back. The second thing that happens is They just bomb it long to about 15 players in one contest. It goes out of bounds and we get another stoppage.
So play on from marks.
Just play on from marks. Look, it happens. The players can.
You're talking
play
about blokes who mark and go forward of the mark. The bloke comes to stand the mark, and they say you've got to go back behind you.
Yeah, or the ball spills out. Okay. Willie Rioli, for instance, comes through, scoops it up, go. Like, just more movement, the better. It's not going to do a big amount of damage to anything of our game that we love traditional-wise, but it's just going to keep the moving going.
This double 50-metre rule that's going on at the moment, so someone gets paid 50, and then the person that's getting the free kick is running, zigzagging, trying to get another 50-metre penalty, and most times they're getting a 100-metre penalty, I think is one of the biggest blights on our game at the moment. Once upon a time, when a 100-metre penalty was given, was when Tony Lockett went mad in the goal square and whacked some other bloke and the ball gone down the other end. At the moment, the way that the penalty does not fit the crime whatsoever, and it's changing games. There was a time on the weekend against the Collingwood and Carlton game where Crisp got a free kick. Now, in the end, the Carlton players were so scared to go on the mark that Crisp got the 50-metre penalty and then ran another 20 metres and kicked the goal. It's just a joke. It's the worst thing that's brought in since that green vest thing that was brought in a few years ago that I used to always get. I was hating that thing.
It prolonged your career by 3 years. What are you talking about?
I thought you liked playing 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, full match payment too.
Anything that you're watching that in the moment feels ridiculous, I reckon is wrong. And that does feel ridiculous. When you've got the player with the ball sprinting and the other guys are like, how close can I get?
Well, he's instigating. More often than not, the bloke with the ball is trying to instigate the contact so he can get an extra one.
Ridiculousness.
You'd almost bring in a rule to say, if you make contact with the bloke running, it's against you, we reverse it. But anyway, look, I had a bizarre rule, and I haven't slept a wink on this rule, and I don't think it'll ever happen. But I was thinking to myself, what about a rule where in the back half, you don't have to bounce the ball to clear that congestion? So you gather the ball, you know how you have to bounce the ball every, whatever, so many metres, 10 metres, isn't it? Anyway, you can just basically run them. When you cross the back half, then you've got to bounce in the forward half.
So literally a line down the centre of the ground.
Straight across the middle.
Yeah, okay.
Straight across the middle.
I don't hate it.
No, but then I was thinking to myself,
back to my thing with the keeping of the moving, like just keep the ball going.
Correct.
So then we actually start looking at drafting NRL players for that kind of, grab the ball in your pocket and just zigzag and
Jack
step.
Petruccelli will play 500 games if this rule gets brought in.
All off the halfback flank.
Correct. But at the end of the day, my feel about rules is pushing the back, holding the ball around the neck, just pay them. Just pay them. Just keep it simple. And let's over it. And I feel sorry for the umpires because they're only officiating the rule book that they've been given. Bottom line is, rules are there, implement them. If it is a rule that you can't climb a goalpost, implement the rule. And it won't ever happen again.
Yeah, just blow the whistle.
The Melbourne squad they're bringing over for Friday night. The last time they were here, they got absolutely pants by 11 goals. They've been decimated by injury. What is the biggest threat? Is it their forward setup, which has been a struggle, their midfield, which is struggling, or their backline, which has been under siege?
It's all been a disaster. Their midfield has always been their most important area and their best area. That's when they were flying last year. The forward line has been a complete debacle this year, so let's ignore that. For me, it's the midfield, but their numbers are so far down. Oliver, Brayshaw, Viney, some guys have just fallen off the planet altogether, like an Alex Neil-Bullen, who was really good for them last year in an X Factor. He can't even get a game because he's playing so poorly. So their midfield is definitely their most important. Even Max Gawn is down, but it's not their best anymore. They don't have a best anymore. So Melbourne needs improvement right across the park. If they're going to win this game, it has to be that the midfield has stepped up and matched West Coast's and beaten it.
And I agree. I think their midfield, yes, as individuals, they haven't been great, but some of their numbers actually as a group are not too bad still. They're still ranked quite high for contested possessions and clearances and inside 50s. But the issue is, last year they ranked 1 for scoring in Melbourne. They've gone down to 17th this year. So whether that's connection between mids and forwards, the hole that Jesse Hogan has left, they just can't get any supply inside forward 50 and convert those opportunities.
Clayton Oliver's inside 50 work, getting the ball inside is atrocious. I mean, it just comes out back every time. We know he's a bull. We know he loves getting the footy, but his actual percentage of ball that hurts is limited this year, and it's been really poor. I will say this, that I genuinely believe Salem's their best player this year.
Yes.
He's been their best player on figures, on use of the footy, in where he gets around the ground. So, but he's not a match breaker.
He'd be pretty good with your rule, with no bouncing in the back line. Just take the ball and just run and go. Good rule, that one.
Starting to sink in. I might write it in crayon for you next time so you completely understand it. Betting agencies are suggesting that West Coast are a 3-goal better side than Melbourne. Is this accurate? My genuine belief is no. I think head-to-head, pound for pound, the fact that it's here, the last time they were here, my belief is that West Coast are an 8-goal better side. I think that's generous, 3 goals.
I think if West Coast were in the form that we know they can be in, 8 goals would be more accurate. But I think both of these teams are not where they were going into that preliminary final last year.
West Coast are way more advanced than Melbourne.
Of course they are. But Melbourne are struggling. West Coast haven't quite found their mojo, even on back-to-back wins. Melbourne's had back-to-back wins. Again, no mojo. So 8 goals is maybe a bit too much. But is this the game where West Coast goes, bang, flicks that switch, all of those stats start to turn around, they make a statement and they gain some much-needed percentage on a team that is running on an oily rag?
This could actually be the game that turns Melbourne's seasons around. We know that they've had a couple of games where they've just fallen over the line. They haven't been great. West Coast haven't been good. But if you can come over to Perth and knock the Eagles off after what happened last year in the preliminary final, it may just turn them around. They might get up and about, but I don't think it's going to happen. I just feel like...
Here you are!
I don't think it's going to happen, but it could turn their season around. I just feel like at the moment the Eagles are just simmering. I think with how even this competition is, and I've said it before, I think the Eagles can actually win. I think they can really win well and really set their season up.
I was getting excited about where you were going with that. And then
I had no idea where I was going with
it. There was a whole lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda. And then it can't. Alrighty. Hey, just quickly, really briefly back, because we just touched on the rule changes. Match review officer, no weeks Fife, no weeks Ablett, 1 week of North Melbourne, nobody.
Yeah, Michael Christian got it wrong. It should have been a week for Fife. It should have been a week for Ablett. And potentially then you can give a week to Durden as well, but you can't give Durden 1 and get those 2 guys off.
Well, I totally agree with you. Durden gets a week, so on the back of that, and the other 2 probably deserved a week as well. But to be honest with you, I don't think any of them deserved a week. I think it was minimal contact. Okay, yes, you're flaunt with danger a little bit, but it was inefficient force for mine. So therefore, I think the tribunal got it right.
Received a notice too this week from Jeremy McGovern to all West Coast Eagles fans who are watching the rundown right here. He set up a GoFundMe page for his $2,000 fine. If any bloke would rather have got a week than be fined, it is Jeremy McGovern for his bum. Alrighty.
Could have gone fishing as well.
Exactly. Could have bought another boat. Hey, just quickly, the result, Melbourne, West Coast, under lights, Optus Stadium.
Well, I think West Coast win by about 4 or 5 goals. I think at the moment they're just going a bit better than Melbourne. The fact that it is at home, and I think after what happened to Melbourne last year in that preliminary final, I'm not sure if that ground really gives them too much confidence to come over here and turn that around.
I agree. They've never recovered from that game, and I don't think this is the week that they do. There's too many demons out there for the Demons this weekend. So I reckon, I was saving that one. I reckon 6 goals, 5-6 goals.
Nice work by you, yeah, West Coast for me as well. Well done, Ryan, from 7 News, Ryan Daniels. And wear that jacket again, because you were absolutely on fire today.
Richie.
Where did you find it?
Fancy dress.
The old op shop coming to the party for Andrew Embley. That has been the rundown. Thanks to AGL for all your energy needs. Go to agl.com.au. The new time Thursday. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next week.